Thank you for your patience. I'd like to welcome you once again to the Bing Ads Quarterly API Call, June 2016. Without further ado, I'll hand the floor over to our first speaker, Tiffany Sanders. Tiffany, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Sydney. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining the Bing Ads API Quarterly Call. In today's call, we are super excited to share with you what's new and upcoming in the Bing Ads API product roadmap. Our goal is to make sure that you walk away with a clear understanding of all the benefits our Bing Ads features have to offer, as well as the resources to support you with adoption of these features. Before we begin, I wanted to take a moment to introduce you to our presenters. My name is Tiffany Sanders, and I will be your host. I am an operations project manager working on the API partner business team. Neha Mohan is a senior program manager working on product ads and Bing shopping campaigns. Nan Lee is a program manager for all things related to UET and remarketing, as well as location targeting. Ginny Sandhu is a program manager focusing on native ads. Joseph Damiani is a program manager for all things ad extensions, particularly new extensions like callout, review, and structured snippets. Juan Carlos Oset is an accounts and billing PM responsible for payments and spend management. Lindsay Patterson has been working in Microsoft advertising for over 8 years. In March, she joined the Bing Ads campaign PM team and is focused on delivering app install ads and enhancing ad extensions. Eric Urban is a senior content developer for the Bing Ads API platform. And last but not least, we have Jamie Chung, who has been a part of the Bing Ads family for over 2 years, primarily focusing on campaign management experiences for end advertisers. He's currently focused on improving URL management through upgraded URLs and introducing new updated ad products for advertisers. Our TAMs, Tarek, Mario, and Vanden, will be answering your questions via the chat window throughout the call today. Please note that as many of the features discussed in today's call are either in early planning or pilot phases, dates and information is subject to change. So without further ado, let's jump into what will be discussed today. Starting with Bing shopping campaigns for upgraded URLs, I will now turn it over to Neha.
Hi, good morning, everybody. As Tiffany introduced me, I am a PM on product ads, specifically on Bing shopping campaigns. And I'm so glad to introduce you to the fact that we are now going to have support for upgraded URLs in Bing shopping campaigns. So we will be adding support for tracking template and custom parameters within product groups for BSC. The only specific call out here is that you will not be allowed to have both destination URLs and tracking templates for the same node. Only one of the entities would be allowed. The behavior is pretty same as what is available for text ads. So both of these old and new entities cannot coexist together. Although these are not mandatory entities for Bing shopping campaigns, but we highly recommend that you have tracking template and custom parameters in your campaigns instead of adding the value track parameters in your link URL, which is part of the feed. And as part of the URL feature, we are not making any changes to the feed specification. The link URL, which is basically your product URL, which is part of the feed, is still going to be mandatory. You would still need to provide that. And if you're using redirect URLs for providing any redirects, that can be used as is. So no changes on the feed side. We're only adding support for tracking template and custom parameters against product groups for BSC. And the tentative pilot start date currently is the 3rd week of June. We will be happy to include anybody who wants to be part of the pilot. With that, I will introduce you to Nan, who's going to talk to you about remarketing.
All right. Thanks, Neha. Hi, everyone. This is Nan. So today I'll be talking about remarketing in paid search. So in the world of online advertising, most of the time, advertisers' goal is to really attract people to their website and convert them, whether it is to make a purchase or download the app. But when people look for products and services online, they rarely convert on their first visit. Instead, people visit a site and they check out other competitors, they do price comparison, and sometimes they just simply get distracted. So based on researchers from leading market research companies have shown that about 96% of first-time visitors leave a website without any converting. And even when people go as far as to put products in the shopping cart, we still see a high shopping cart abandonment rate. So with remarketing in paid search, we're providing a new way for marketers to re-engage our audience that has expressed interest in their brand's offering, which will help advertisers to drive higher ROI, exclude upsell, or even cross-sell to existing customers. This feature, remarketing in paid search, has been available since last October. It's been a few months already, and now we're excited to introducing the remarketing API for both campaign management and bulk, which is coming soon in this summer. So the new APIs offer similar functionalities as in the web UI. You can do all those tasks that you're already familiar with today, such as view existing remarketing list, view existing remarketing list associations, create associations at an ad group level, determine how to show ads, whether you only want to show users in the associated remarketing list or you want to show it to everyone, and finally adjusting your bidding for an association. So now we will drill a bit into the details. First, for the bulk API, we have two new record types to help enable the scenarios we have just talked about earlier, which are remarketing list and ad group remarketing list. The additional fields listed under those new record types are just some of the example fields to really help provide an overview. And now for the campaign management API, we have 4 new service operations, which are listed below. And please keep in mind that remarketing list has to have at least 1,000 users in order to be used for remarketing. You can view the current number of people in a remarketing list in the audience tab from campaign page in the web UI. And lastly, please stay tuned and wait for official documentations. And this is all from my side, and now I will turn it over to Guinea for native ads.
Thank you, Nan. So just wanted to provide the audience with a little bit of background on native ads and how we've been progressing on this product. It's been available to advertisers since last year, and over this time period, across a few phases, the vast majority of the advertisers across all segments have opted into native ads. And currently, native ads is serving on MSN, and it's expanding beyond that as well. And we are on track to currently deliver about 200,000 conversions annualized based on the UET tracking that we are able to see. The idea, of course, is as the supply grows, as we get more publishers, we will be able to drive more conversions for the advertisers. One of the key tenets of native advertising is that the demand, the partners that come into Bing Ads are expecting a search-like performance. So using smart pricing, using user search history, their browse history on MSN, and all the other assets available as part of search advertising, that we deliver ROI that is similar to the search advertising that's expected. On your screens, you will see an example of a native ad showing up on an article about gold. And it's a Boolean ad, and it's leveraging the assets that have been provided as part of your search ad, which is showing site links, your ad text, as well as the reviews for that advertiser that we are pulling in, and Twitter followers as well. So that's just to give you guys a context in terms of what a native ad looks like, where it is showing, and what are the controls that we have in place. So now getting into the details around the controls that are available to you to manage your native ads. There are 2 basic controls that are provided for this management. One is the native ad bid modifier, and the other is your custom ads. So custom ad means that you have the ability to create an ad for native, mark it as preferred for native, and then as long as you have another search ad in that ad group and for that campaign, then the native preferred ad will only show up for native distribution. This is working similar to how you would set up a mobile preferred ad. And the bulk API, you use the ad format preference column, and the values are native and all. All means it's going to get served on search as well as native. If if you're enabled for native. If you select native only, then that's what you're marking it as preferred. For the campaign management API, we use the native preference key within the forward compatibility map element of an ad, and the values are true and false. True means set it to native, false means set it to all, meaning it serves for both search and native if enabled for native. The other control that's available to you to manage your ROI for native ads is the native ad bid modifier, and this is a value that can be set to -100% to as high as 900%. -100% effectively opts you out of native ads, but once you're enabled, all new campaigns will also need to be set with that value to stay opted out. You use the bid adjustment column in the bulk API and set the bid modifier value to the range I just described. And then on the campaign management API side, you use the native bid adjustment element, and here you're setting the bid modifier again between -100 and 900%. So two simple controls to customize how you want to distribute your native ads with how much change to your native bids, as well as if you want any custom text to appear for that. So that was all for the update on native ads, and now I'll hand it over to Joe.
Thanks, Ginny. Hey, everyone. My name's Joe, and as Tiffany introduced, I work on ad extensions here at Bing Ads. On last API call, with the release of callout and review extensions, we were continuing our narrative of supporting every ad extension available in AdWords, also in Bing Ads. Today, we're arriving at the end of that story with the announcement of structured snippets. In a word, structured snippets tell customers more about your business. You take a look at the example at the bottom of the page. Here we have an ad for 1-800-Flowers as it appeared on Google. You'll note that it says 1-800-Flowers, that they offer same-day delivery, and then we have two extensions serving with this ad. On bottom, you'll note what a structured snippet is. A structured snippet contains a header, something like categories, brands, values, categories, brands, courses, and then a set of values related to that header. Here we have the header of categories and the supporting values of flowers, plants, gift baskets, and keepsake gifts. What this does is, in combination with callout extensions, which you'll see above, we have two callouts, 24/7 toll-free number, and delivered to 190 countries, allows you to tell customers more about your business, as I mentioned. So if I'm a customer who sees this ad, I can expect same-day delivery from 1-800-Flowers, that they have 24/7 customer service and delivery to 190 countries, and I can expect flowers, plants, gift baskets, and keepsake gifts. So if I'm a customer, what I'm expecting from 1-800-Flowers is a high availability service, and I know what kinds of things or categories I can expect on their site before I click through. Like many of our other ad extensions, up to 20 structured snippets can be associated with a campaign or an ad group. And with that being said, they are available at both the campaign and ad group level. These will be serving on both PC and tablet during our pilot, and then following our pilot at or near GA, we will also release mobile availability for structured snippets to serve on mobile devices. Just a couple specifics about structured snippets themselves. They'll be serving on mainline and sidebar ads. In order for structured snippets to serve, you only require one structured snippet to be associated with a campaign or ad group, so that is what's to be expected. And each structured snippet can have one header. So in the example below, that one header is categories and 3 to 10 values. Below you'll note 4 values in the example. All of these details and more will be cataloged in our API docs. Structured snippets are currently available in our API sandbox, and we intend on releasing our docs with a corresponding Dev Center post. So developers.bingads.com, you'll note we'll have a post for structured snippets shortly. Thanks, everyone. Looking forward to Q&A, and I'm going to hand it off to Juan Carlos now.
Thanks, Joe. Hi, everyone. My name is Juan Carlos, and I'm the program manager responsible for spend within the accounts team in Bing Ads. I'm very excited to be talking about shared budgets today. We've gotten feedback through different channels asking us to have an offering related to sharing a budget across multiple campaigns. So I want to take this opportunity today to actually share that we're currently developing this feature for Bing Ads. Shared budgets allow advertisers to set a single daily budget to be used by all campaigns under an account or by a subgroup of campaigns under an account. Individual campaigns can draw from that budget throughout the day as needed. So the benefit of this feature is that it actually helps reduce the time spent manually calculating how to allocate budget individually to a significant number of campaigns. And it also optimizes unutilized budget by having Bing Ads automatically allocate remaining budget to campaigns that are performing better, increasing their chances to get more traffic. I want to call out that this feature is planned to be supported in all of our entry points. That includes the web UI, the API, Bing Ads Editor, and our mobile applications. And we're currently scheduled to pilot the feature in September 2016 with a GA of mid-October, depending on the pilot results. So I want to take the opportunity to talk about how we're going to be modifying the API objects and to describe the introduction of the budget object. So as you can see in the slide, for the campaign object, we're going to be adding a budget element. That's going to be the one that will house the budget ID for a shared budget. So if you try to update the budget of a campaign, you should check the value of the budget ID. And if it's greater than 0, then the campaign will actually be using a shared budget. If the budget ID is null, then the campaign is not using a shared budget. The budget object itself is going to contain 4 elements, which are going to be the budget identifier, the amount for the shared budget, the name that you want to give to the shared budget, and then the budget type, which can be daily accelerated or daily standard. So that aligns with our current delivery methods for individual campaigns. So daily accelerated means spend my budget as fast as you can, and then daily budget standard means spend my budget throughout the day. I also want to talk about the changes to the bulk schema. So in the campaign row, we're going to be supporting the budget identifier, the budget name, and the budget amount to account for shared budgets. And in the budget row, we're going to be having the budget ID, budget name, and budget type as well. I want to note that whether or not your application is using shared budgets, you will most likely have to make code changes to continue managing individual campaign budgets. Specifically, if a campaign uses a shared budget, then you cannot change the budget amount using the campaign record of the bulk API or using the amount element of the campaign object that I described in the previous slide. If you try to update the budget amount of a campaign that is using a shared budget, the service operation will return an error, as we can see here in the slide, which says campaign service cannot update shared budget. So you will need to handle that error once if you're trying to update the budget amount. We plan to release sandbox support for shared budgets later this summer. We'll be sure to make an announcement on the API blog once the MSDN documentation is available and once the SDKs are available. We'll then be able to start writing code to manage shared budgets and also check whether or not a campaign is using a shared budget. Even today, without the updated proxies, you can start preparing your application to handle the error code that's going to be thrown when a campaign is part of a shared budget. Shared budgets will not be supporting the monthly budget type, so I want to take this opportunity to provide an early notification that we're planning to stop supporting the monthly budget type in calendar 2017. There will be a forced migration next calendar year where all the campaign level individual budgets will be rationalized as daily in parallel with the monthly budget deprecation. Moving campaign budgets to daily budget is encouraged as of now. The formula that will be used to convert monthly budgets to daily budgets on our side as part of the migration would be monthly budget divided by 30.4, and if the result of the division falls below the minimum, then the budget will be set to that minimum. Having announced that, I want to hand it off to Lindsay Patterson, who will be talking about app install ads.
Thank you, Juan. Hello, everyone. I'm Lindsay Patterson. Looking forward to sharing with you some insight on app install ads as well as some changes to our existing ad extensions. If you were on the API call last quarter, you were introduced to our plans for app install ads. Oops, we should be back a little bit. There we go. So we're excited to announce that we're now in the final stages of testing and preparing for our pilot. So as a refresher on app install ads are intended to drive more app downloads. And the benefit here for some of advertisers is that there is no website landing page or no destination URL displayed. These ads direct users directly to the applicable app store. And these ads deliver on mobile and tablet devices. It supports apps that are available on Apple App Store and Google Play Store. The SDK is already available. MSDN is already supplied with the documentation, and it's available in the existing Campaign API v10. Our pilot is starting later this month for our upgraded URL and app extension customers. And you can see below there is a mock of an app install ad. And there's two components that are clickable, the ad title and the install button. We're excited to bring this ad product to our advertisers. I know it's been a top ask, especially for some of the customers that rely on app traffic more than web traffic. With that, let's move on to ad extension scheduling. So I'm happy to share with you that we're enhancing some of our existing ad extension capabilities. Ad extension scheduling was a frequently mentioned item on the Bing Ads user voice, and we feel it'll add great value for advertisers in their ability to optimize ad extension delivery. So once this feature is in place, the advertiser can set delivery eligibility schedule at several levels. So at the first level, they can set start and end dates. That's based on the calendar. They can also select days of the week, whether that's Monday through Friday, all days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There's quite a bit of customization that can be completed, and select hours of the day. So if you only want this ad extension to run, let's say 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., that can now be accomplished. These delivery settings can be applied to the searcher time zone or the account time zone. And we'll have more information for you on MSDN as well as the SDK in July, with the pilot starting in August. One thing to note here is that ad extension scheduling will be available on Sitelinks only after a Sitelinks upgrade, and I'll speak to that process in the next slide. The work is underway to, we're calling flatten our Sitelink extension structure. Today, as many of you are probably familiar, we operate on a container model where we have one Sitelink extension container that can contain up to 10 Sitelink items. And then we have the extension, which is that container associated to the campaign and the ad group. And the big change that's coming is that, like I said, we are flattening. So one Sitelink extension will only contain one Sitelink item, and up to 20 Sitelink extensions can be associated to a campaign or ad group. So the thought here is that users will have additional flexibility, and they will be able to see reporting at the Sitelink level. They'll be able to reuse shared Sitelinks across many campaigns and ad groups. So this should help reduce some of the work required for setup and campaign management. I'm sure a big question for many of you on the call is how are we going to manage the transition from the current model to the future model, and we'll talk through that next. Preserving the customer experience through this transition is one of our top priorities, and we want to ensure that we keep in mind the experience as we make our decisions on how we might update our customers. Something to note is that the API will need API partners will need to add 2 new components to access the new model. The first component is a get account migration status, and then the second piece is the call into the new model. And we'll have more details available at the end of July. But as I mentioned, our top of mind here is preserving that experience, especially for our tool providers and our direct access API customers. So Bing Ads will manage those customer migrations, but we want to be in partnership with partners to ensure that we don't break the experience prior to API readiness. As we migrate, performance data and existing associations will be preserved. So as long as the access points are updated, or access channels are updated, then the campaign setup will remain in place. Our earliest migrations will start this September, and we will definitely be mindful of the holiday period. We want to pause that for October to December to ensure that we don't disrupt any plans that are already set in place. With that, I'll pass it over to Eric Urban to speak through the API v9 sunset.
Thanks, Lindsay. Hi, everyone. This is Eric. I'm actually here not to talk about anything new, but to talk about something that's already been announced. We do plan to sunset most version 9 services at the end of this month. That includes Ad Intelligence, Bulk, Campaign Management, and Optimizer. This was first announced last October when we released V10, and this is just a reminder that these will sunset at the end of the month. The migration guide is already on MSDN, so please double-check that if you have not already migrated. Version 9 services that we will keep for now, customer billing, customer management, and reporting. And we should have more to announce on the migration plan for those towards the end of the summer. But at this time, we have no plans to sunset that anytime soon, so you can continue using those. And that's all I have. I'll pass it off to Jamie to talk about expanded text ads.
Thanks, Eric. Good morning, everyone. So we've been receiving a decent amount of questions around our plan to support expanded text ads, which is a new ad format that Google announced a few weeks ago. The answer, to be short, is yes, we will be planning to support the expanded text ads ad format. This announcement in the API blog, API quarterly call, as well as our consumer blog, is just a step that we've acknowledged that this new ad format is present, and we've already started to work on the way to support it in our bulk, SOAP, and other entry points such as API and desktop editor. There are a few timelines we just want to go over, as I know AdWords and Google are pushing this fairly aggressively, and know that some of these tool providers and API customers are also coding against this on the AdWords API, which was released in June. So from our timeline, some things we want to call out is that we'll be doing a separate one-off call after this quarterly call, maybe in the later time frame of June or early July, to give a more deep dive in the extended text ads format, and we can feel for questions about migration and so forth as like. In July 2016, we'd like to open up API Sandbox and to have that readily available in SOAP as well as V10 with campaign management. There are a few must-knows you guys should understand about the extended text ads format. The first is that this will be a new record type or type ID or enum in our campaign infrastructure. So we have traditional text ads, which are certain enum. We have product ads and so forth. Extended text ads will be treated as a new ad type ID. We're intentional about our reporting changes to the API. Given it's a new ad type ID, we'll be adding additional columns to existing services. We won't be adding any new service operations, so this will give you the maximum flexibility for backwards compatibility to adapt this format. For the last must-know, that upgraded URLs will be mandatory for this new ad format. So if you haven't already engaged or are engaging with us about upgraded URLs to make those transition progress, do contact us either with the email addresses in the slides, or contact your account manager or your technical account manager so we can set up some time to discuss this further. Lastly, below is just a draft of the bulk ad format that we'll be using for extended text ads. The 4 new additional fields that we'll be adding is title part 1, title part 2, and then likewise path 1 and path 2. The path will be the domain name for the path will be automatically generated from the final URL that's provided to the customer, and that will be sent down to Bing for delivery. With that, we'll move forward with questions and answers, and we'll love to have your feedback and any burning questions or thoughts you guys may have on a call.
And Jamie, before we jump into questions, we do have a poll for everybody, and we wanted to ask, as a result of what you've learned on the webinar today, is it likely that you or your team will adopt one or more of these API features once they are available? So just take a minute to say yes or no, and then continue to type in any additional questions into your chat window, and we'll go through some of the questions that we've received so far today. So one question that we had was around, will there be an incentive for users to adopt ETAs?
The question for incentives for users to adopt ETAs. Users, I'm assuming, being end advertisers. End advertisers would actually see, we are suspecting that end advertisers would see an upwards of around 15+% in terms of click-through rates. We have existing long ad titles that have a similar functionality, and we deliver that same functionality to the expanded text ads treatment. So we do see performance increase when we do similar annotations and slides on our end. And we expect that we'll have to show more concrete examples and case studies in the future when we do GA.
All right, and another question that we had is, will the right-hand side ads go when the expanded ads are introduced?
At the moment, we don't have plans to remove sidebar ads. Our ads will be optimized for both sidebar and mainline, so they will wrap accordingly, and we'll be evaluating the UX treatment on Bing and the other publishers to make sure that those ads are accommodated as well.
Another question that came in, will we be required to use upgraded URLs?
When upgraded URLs will be acquired, at the moment we will now be enforcing a forced migration in the 2016 calendar year. This is in lieu from feedback, so we do appreciate and we do take your feedback seriously. We will be, at some point in the summer, releasing upgraded URLs for more advertisers to consume. For those advertisers who are also interested in expanded text ads, we will be able to enable you in both the upgraded URLs and the expanded text ads pilots in tandem. At the moment, so just point of record, there is no plans for Bing to force adoption for upgraded URLs in the calendar year 2016. That's still being in discussions, and we do have plans in 2017 calendar year. We'll be sure to let you guys know in the future API calls.
And this question would go, I believe, to Eric. Are there any breaking changes in the campaign management service from V9 to V10?
Hey, Tiffany, great question. Yes, there are some. So I refer you to the migration guide. It's already on MSDN, the V9 to V10 migration guide. Breaking changes for campaign and for bulk, and also for the ad intelligence optimizer to the ad insight service. So please check that migration guide out right away. Definitely.
All right. And then, Jamie, there's a clarification question. If we are not using updated URLs, will we no longer be able to use site links when those are remodeled?
I can take that one.
Yeah.
So there is no dependency on upgraded URLs for site links. So if you're an upgraded URL customer or not, you can continue to use site links before and after the remodel. There are two dependencies, though, that while we're talking, it's good to clarify. The ad extension scheduling will only be available on the new site link model, and app install ads will only be available for upgraded URL. App install ads pilot will only be available for upgraded URL pilot users.
All right, and then another question on upgraded URLs. Was a GA for upgraded URLs announced?
We have not yet announced general availability for upgraded URLs. That's something we're still piloting with customers. We're finishing our end-to-end testing. We'll look forward to announcing later this summer.
All right. A question on expanded ads. Will you limit the impressions of expanded ads at first?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if I'm actually understanding. Are you more around the share between standard text ads and the expanded text ads? We can take it offline. We'd love to hear what you have more thoughts on that. The answer would be no. Let's go. I get feeling. But do follow up with us offline. We can actually understand what you're asking, and we can follow up with you as well.
All right, and then question for Guinea on native ads. Will we be able to bid on context instead of keywords?
The bid is on the keywords. We do expect you to think about native keywords in a little more generic fashion than search keywords. So if you are, let's say, creating a separate ad group in native, you always need a search ad there. But if you can go lower the bids there on your ad group where you have a search ad, but specifically a native ad, lower the bids there, add generic keywords, and then bid boosted with native. So that will give you more generic delivery, but the bid is on the keyword.
All right, thanks, Guinea. Another question for Eric. Are you going to increase the number of API version with upcoming changes, or you'll still keep version 10? Having the same version number can bring many integration issues.
If the question is, are these new features that we talked about today in version 10, the answer is yes. If the question is asking something else, could the requester please clarify? But all the new features we talked about today, like the shared budget, the new Sitelink migration model, the native ads, that's all for V10. So, thank you.
Okay, and then this question is, will publishers from the search network be available to be reported as an ID in either the UI or the API?
For that question, we'll love to actually understand some more what you had in mind, specifically on what reporting API calls you're interested in and what values. We have gotten some feedback on that in the past, and we'd love to put it in our backlog to actually tackle in future API versions. So do reach out to us via the email address in the slides so we can actually understand your request further.
All right, and then another question on ETAs. So to clarify that earlier question, they meant end users. And they're saying if both ETAs and traditional text ads are present in the same group, will ETAs receive preferential serving?
Sure. I think at the current time, we don't have any plans to favor one over the other. As our marketplace begins to see the sort of ads advertisers create, marketplace will optimize as necessary, but we don't have a plan today that says if you have an expanded text ad, we'll serve that over a text ad or vice versa.
So great questions. If you have any other questions, continue to type them in. I am going to go through and share our resources here. So wanted to point out a few resources where you can find answers to your questions, announcements on new features, and our sandbox environment. You'll find everything you need at developers.bingads.microsoft.com. Be sure to bookmark it and check it regularly for updates. You can also reference our resource links in the resource window. If you are looking for more information, please be sure to sign up for our monthly API readout and quarterly newsletter, where you will find API alerts, new features, and updates. You can sign up by sending an email request to bingadsapi@microsoft.com. If you're interested in signing up for pilots for API testing, please contact bingads-pilots@microsoft.com for pilot enablement. We will be opening up the pilot for BSC and app install ads in late June, structured snippets in July, ad extension scheduling in August, and shared budgets in September. You can also feel free to ask questions via Twitter, and we would love to get feedback on features at our user voice page. Were there any additional questions we had coming in? Let's see, I think we have another question. What is the estimated production release date for expanded text ads API calls?
At the moment, we don't have an expected release date. Google has not also announced our GA date for expanded text ads. They know they've been doing pilot with certain customers with the summer availability. As Google has unveiled more plans and we see more demand using expanded text ads and API, we'll make a business decision to actually bring that to general availability for all advertisers.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining our June quarterly API call. The next call will be held in September, and we look forward to sharing the next round of updates with you at that time. With that, we will conclude the call.